Um, I'm going to be talking a little bit about domestic violence. My presentation is actually going to be on domestic violence. Some of the issues that I'm going to be talking about touches on domestic violence. However, I'm going to kind of tweak this and kind of present my topic is based on domestic violence fueling the foster care system. And the reason I bring this topic up is because I see the traffic that comes through the agency that I'm working for right now. And the majority of the cases are domestic violence related, and children are detained and taken into protective custody based on domestic violence. Um, from just to give you a perspective and a clear perspective as to some of the numbers that come through, and you can get in a statistical picture. Out of 40 cases that come through the agency where I'm work for, I should say 15 of those are case domestic violence related, and it's not just a severe domestic violence. It's pretty much serious. We have children that are involved between the parents, and the parents hit them, and therefore they're taken into protective custody. Now, a lot of the cases that come through there are Latino, and that's one of the things that really focused me to present on this. That being Latino is very interesting. That a lot of the cases were Latino and Black. Now, I don't want to sound biased, but Latino, just to give you a number, um, out of a number of 10, I think maybe four of those are Latino, with some interracial diversity, or for that matter, it just really fluctuates. But I want to touch on that topic now. Domestic violence for the county of Los Angeles, when they do detain children taken to protective custody, it's two people getting into an altercation that's aggressively taken to the point of hitting each other and throwing objects and scratching and bruising one another. Law enforcement have no choice but to take somebody into custody, and usually that happens is both parents taken into protective custody. One, it's both parents are taken to protective custody, and the children are then released over to the county, come over to us, they release the children to us, and then for we place them into homes. Sometimes the case is different. Sometimes one of them failed to protect. The domestic violence has been going, or had been going on for numerous months or years, and nobody has protected. And now the child's interviewed and giving they give information, and so then they're taken to protective custody. Now, in protective custody, the children pretty much divulge a lot of information. As a social worker, or acting social worker, I should say, I receive a lot of information after the fact. Information like my daddy hit my mommy with the fist, my daddy pushed my mommy, and my mommy went down, and therefore she couldn't get up, and things got really bad. And I was hiding under the couch, the blue belt, the green pan, the cup, the glass. I mean, detail and detail and detail feel the information that these children divulge. My job is to give that information and giving it over to the county social worker, as to then she takes that and reports it to the court. Now, much of the time, that information is really taken really seriously, and then presented into the court. The form is called an ex parte, and the reason why is because it's ex parte is because it's exported into the court on a serious note to the report previously that the worker detained on. Now, one of the things that the children suffer when they're in placement is a lot of we have attachment issues that go through these kids, and they don't receive the services, adequate services or resources that we have, lack of resources to pretty much address some of the situations. And the children are sent home some of the times without being treated, or I should say, treated in a therapeutic level or in a setting to address some of the issues that they might have. Now, domestic violence is a serious issue right now, affecting, I think, my area that I'm working, because I see it a lot, and it's not just one time or two times, it's many times. I mean, don't get me wrong, some of the other cases are much worse, But the ones that come through, and I've been going through some of the files, and I was allowed to use this information. And I'm going to give you an example. I have a case, and I'm going to call her Jane. I'm not going to disclose the name because of the HEPA, right? HEPA. Jane, she came in to my agency, age 10, Jane. A two-tac family, normal home. Dad got into drugs and alcohol. Came home one night, 2 a.m., beat mom in her sleep. I beat her, excuse my throat, I'm getting over something, so I'm going to be talking over scratchy throat and voice. Came home drunk one day, or high on, I think it was meth, the report that I read. I beat her in her sleep until she was basically woke up and then hit the bed unconscious. Jane walked over to Dad to try to stop. Dad reached over, punched Jane, knocked her over, and Jane basically knocked out. Neighbors heard, they reported, police came. It was a serious issue, and they took all the kids into protective custody. And I've been working with Jane for a little bit now, and she's Latina. And this doesn't stop. It does not stop with the mom. The problem extends far greater than just mom. The problem started with the parents of those parents and those parents, because the cycle was never broken, and this behavior was normalized by their parents. And in a cultural setting, domestic violence is normalized, and that's where the problem starts. That is normalized. That, oh, it's okay, I deserved it, or or circumstance. I'm the only breadwinner, and mom has to take it, and that's usually what happens. That women are scared. For the most part, women are scared. And I have statistical numbers to give you, really, but they're not always on point, because I was doing some of the research, and they were off. Now, in addition to the video that I'm recording right now and telling you a little bit about this presentation, I recorded a movie on iMovie, and I really want you to take a look at it, because I put some numbers up there and some statistical facts just for your information as to how domestic violence really affects the household. And I really want you just to pay close attention to it. I put some pictures on there also, just to give you a dynamics as to what children really suffer and how the emotional abuse domestic violence really causes. I really was never aware of the issue of domestic violence and the trauma that how it can affect a child, and it's horrifying. It really is. Some kids really, and when I'm talking about, I'm really focusing and really in the Latino right now, because in our culture it's really normalized. I can tell you as a Latino male that in my culture I saw this a lot. I mean, I grew up in it. So really, I can really associate myself and connect myself to the children. I grew up around it. I remember it. I mean, I vividly. And it was always normalized that it was okay for the male to be dominant, for the male to be over the wife, and for the wife to obey the male. And if not so, we can use pretty much physical force to correct that or rectify that. Now, that's wrong. And some of the children that I speak to are the same. Until one of us comes in a therapeutic setting or as a professional and say, you know what, that's not right. A woman should not be treated as an object, or to be treated as a lesser person, than the husband. It should be equal. And not until you explain this to the child is a child going to understand it. But it takes time to break that cycle. I've done some community work with mental health program, with some of the mental health programs in the agency, and I've read some of their notes and some of the work that they do. It's amazing. Some of the programs and resources that they use to associate some of these battered women and children as well. They have specialized play therapists. They have in-home supports. Excuse me. They have some of the liaisons from community professionals, partners that go out and do this work. So for the most part, check out the video. It's going to be linked to the video that I have now, and that's it.